Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel English Literature. Today we're going to talk about M. Forster's aspects of the novel. It is the publication of a series of lectures on the English language novel that was delivered by M. Forster at Trinity College, Cambridge in 1927. He cites the examples of classic works such as the classical writings of famous eminent persons and scholars, and then in that respect he discusses 7 aspects he deems as universal to the novel. And what are they? That is the story. Number 1 story, number 2 character, number 3 plot, number 4 fantasy, number 5 prophecy, number 6 pattern, and number 7 rhythm. Now, Forster says that a novel is not a process of historical development. A novel tells a story that must be built around suspense. It is the vital essence of a novel. A good novel must include a sense of value. And for example, he cites Walter Scott's The Antiquary, where he shows that Scott follows suspense but no sense of value. Okay, so that is the negative point of Scott's The Antiquary, that there is suspense but no value. In Chaucer War and Peace, there is value. So we just told that he uses the example of classic works and then he discusses his point. And for the success of novel, both flat and round characters have the same importance. So we are discussing Forster's aspects of the novel and its main points that he wants to tell us. Now, according to him, both flat and round character have their access for a good novel. And here he mentions Homo sapiens as real people. It is very important to keep in mind Homo sapiens and Homo pictus. Homo pictus are the characters in the novel and Homo sapiens is the real people. Sorry, I get a bit cold. Now, there is a mistake. Forster distinguishes between a flat character and a round character. Flat characters are relatively straightforward and round characters are more complex and developed. So, flat character versus round character. Dickens' all characters are flat, and Leo Tolstoy and Fyodor Dostoevsky's characters are round. So keep these examples in mind, that which novel Forster use as an example of flat character and which novelist, and for round character which examples he cites. Now, the plot creates the effect of suspense. The plot is the narrative of events over time. Readers, with their power of intelligence and memory, understand the plot. Now here Forster mentions George Meredith as one of the greatest masters of the plot, and Thomas Hardy as a novelist whose plots are heavily structured to fit the characters. So according to Forster, Thomas Hardy's plots is actually dependent on the characters. For the character's sake, Hardy can use his plots. His plots are not primary, but they have secondary importance. His characters are main importance, and he arranged his plot according to his characters. Okay. Now, the other aspects is fantasy and prophecy. It provides a sense of universality and spirituality. So what is the importance of fantasy and prophecy in a novel? They provide a sense of universality and spirituality, the central aspect of the novel. Forster describes aspects of prophecy in a novel as a tone of voice. What is prophecy? Prophecy is a tone of voice. A song, it is like a song. His theme is the universe. Again, Lawrence cites the example of Lawrence Stern's novel Tristan Sandy. It includes the implication of a supernatural elements, though not directly, but include them. He mentions some common devices of fantasy, like God, ghosts, angels, monster, witches, etc. These are the common devices of fantasy. Again, no man's land, the future, the core of earth, these are all supernatural elements of the novel. He also discusses the device of parody and adaptation as elements of fantasy. He mentions Henry Fielding's Joseph Andrews, which began as a parody of Richardson's Pamela. It is very important to note down that Fielding's Joseph Andrews is a parody of Richardson's Pamela. He points to James Joyce's Ulysses, which is an adaptation of the ancient Greek text of Odyssey, that is based on a Greek myth, Trojan War. Now, according to Forster, the aspect of prophecy in a novel is a tone of a voice. I have already told you here, tone of a voice. And prophecy demands of the reader both humility and the suspension of a sense of humor. He brings a comparison between Dostoevsky and George Eliot. Both of them express a vision of the universal in their novels. But Eliot ends up being preachy, like he is directly preaching something. I am talking about these things, moral, ethics or whatever. But Dostoevsky successfully expresses a prophetic song without preaching. In Dostoevsky writing, you will find that he is prophesizing some morality or something, but that is not so directly or not so preachy like George Eliot. Forster mentioned Dostoevsky, Melville, D.H. Lawrence and Emily Bronte as four novelists who succeeded in creating prophetic novels. So it is very important to note down who are the novelists whom Forster mentioned as successful prophetic or the creator of successful prophetic novels. Pattern and rhythm. The pattern is visual art in the novel. He describes a narrative pattern of Anatole France Thais. Anatole France Thais as an hourglass pattern and Percy Lubbock's Roman pictures as a chain pattern. So he mentioned two types of pattern. One pattern is hourglass pattern and the other is chain pattern. These patterns add an aesthetic quality to the novel. Henry James, the Ambassador, it projects an hourglass pattern. So pattern and rhythm, they both are important. Now, in case of the Ambassador, which came that here he sacrificed the liveliness of the characters to the rigid structure of an hourglass pattern. In Henry James' Ambassador, Foster tells that he sacrifices the liveliness of characters to the rigid structure of an hourglass pattern. And Foster concludes that the problem of pattern in novels is that it shuts the door on life. If you thrust your novel structure within a pattern, then it loses its liveliness. Okay. So I think that he does not approve pattern. And here in hourglass or chain, here he uses a visual art describing. In describing the pattern of novel, he uses the terms from a visual art. Now, next about rhythm. Okay, Forster concludes that the problem of pattern in the novel is that it shuts the door on life. Actually, you thrust something into some mold or some construction, and the novel is like a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings like emotions. But if you try to bound your novel into a particular pattern, then it loses its liveliness. Now, next point is rhythm. Rhythm, according to Forster, is repetition plus variation. It is, according to Forster, it is better suited to the novel than pattern. So he gives priorities in rhythm, not in pattern. Rhythm is better suited to the novel than the pattern. Marcel Proust's novel Remembrance of Things Past is an example of the successful use of rhythm. Rhythm provides a more open-ended narrative structure without sacrificing character. Okay. Now, Forster concludes that the development of novels defines the development of humanity. He was so hopeful in his aspects of novel regarding the future of the novel. Key figures he mentioned in his aspects of novel. Here are some of the names. There are a lot of names, it's not some of. Jane Austen, Verboom, Bennett, Bronte, Emily Bronte and Charlotte Bronte, Daniel Defoe. You can go through the names. Here is a long list. And he mentioned them in his aspects of the novel. Again, he mentioned Daniel Defoe's, you have to remember Daniel Defoe's Moll Flanders and Robinson Crusoe. Mostly Moll Flanders he discussed here. Oliver Goldsmith, Hardy, Henry James, Herman Melville, George Meredith, Samuel Richardson, H.G. Wells, a lot of names. Okay, so here I have discussed some of the important aspects that is taken from Forster's aspects of the novel. And you know that this book is actually a series of printed version of a series of lectures originally written and presented in verbal form by the author before an audience of college and university students and professors in the halls of the Trinity College, Cambridge. That is Forster's alma mater. In the name of the distinguished Clark Lecture series. Okay.